I came home from a business trip to find my roommate, Kyle, frantically shredding documents in the kitchen. When I asked him what he was doing, he nervously laughed and said he was just cleaning out old paperwork. But what he didn't realize was that I could clearly see my own name and social security number on the paper scattered around his feet. I stood there in shock, watching him destroy evidence of what I would soon discover to be months of systematic identity theft. Fraud that had destroyed my credit score, emptied my bank accounts, and left me saddled with $47,000 in fraudulent debt. What Kyle didn't know was that his clumsy shredding session had been captured on the security camera I had installed after noticing my mail had been tampered with. That footage, showing him in the act, would become the centerpiece of federal identity theft prosecution that would send him to prison for years and force him to repay every cent he had stolen, with devastating interest and penalties. My name is James Miller. I'm 34 years old. And 6 months ago, I discovered that my roommate of 2 years had been systematically stealing my identity, destroying my finances, and living a luxury lifestyle funded by loans and credit cards fraudulently opened in my name. What Kyle Brennan never expected was that his sloppy attempt to cover up his crimes would give me all the evidence I needed to ensure he faced the full consequences, both criminal and financial. Kyle and I had originally met through a roommate matching app when I was looking to split rent on a 2-bedroom apartment in Portland, Oregon. He seemed like a good fit, employed as a marketing coordinator, clean, quiet, and seemingly responsible about shared expenses. We got along well and settled into a comfortable living arrangement. Since Kyle worked remotely most days, he was usually home when mail arrived or packages were delivered. For me, this seemed perfect because I traveled frequently for my job as a software consultant, and he could sign for deliveries and keep an eye on the apartment. Over the past year, I had noticed small irregularities with my mail and financial accounts, but nothing dramatic enough to raise serious suspicion. Occasionally, I'd receive bills for services I didn't recognize or credit monitoring alerts for accounts I didn't recall opening. Whenever I called to investigate, customer service reps would tell me the accounts had been closed or that it was likely a system error. Companies are always mixing up information, Kyle would say when I mentioned it. His explanation seemed reasonable, and the problems were sporadic, so I didn't push further. The first major red flag came when I was denied for a car loan despite believing I had excellent credit. The loan officer looked puzzled as she pulled up my report. "Mr. Miller, your score has dropped significantly. You have several recent defaults, missed payments, and high utilization across multiple accounts." Shocked, I told her it was impossible. I only had 2 credit cards, both with low balances and always paid on time. She showed me my report. 8 credit cards, 3 personal loans, and 2 store accounts, all open in my name. The total debt listed was staggering. I immediately knew this was identity theft and began contacting credit bureaus and lenders. The deeper I dug, the more disturbing it became. These fraudulent accounts had been opened over the course of 8 months, using my exact social security number, date of birth, and current address. Whoever was doing this knew intimate details of my life, things random hackers wouldn't have. Worse still, some accounts have been verified through phone calls to my home number or by email addresses that looked nearly identical to mine. Through all this, Kyle was extremely sympathetic. "James, this is terrible. Do the police have any leads? I hope they catch whoever did this to you," he said, shaking his head with concern. But his act only convinced me further that something was wrong. I filed reports with the FBI, the local police, and the FTC. Agent Sarah Martinez from the FBI's White-Collar Crime Division took the case. She explained that the fraud pattern strongly suggested someone with direct access to my information and living space. "The perpetrator knows details too specific to be an outsider," she warned. She recommended installing discrete security cameras in my apartment, especially where mail was sorted. 2 weeks later, I left for a short business trip. When I returned, I walked in to find Kyle frantically shredding documents in the kitchen. The paper scattered around him bore my name, social security number, and account details. His excuses fell apart instantly. "Kyle, these are credit applications with my information. Why do you have these?" His face drained of color, and he mumbled weak denials, but I had seen enough. I excused myself, stepped away, and immediately called Agent Martinez. The footage from my cameras confirmed everything. Kyle had been caught on video opening my mail, filling out credit applications, even impersonating me over the phone to verify accounts. The next morning, the FBI executed a search warrant on our apartment. In his room, they found copies of my tax returns, bank statements, employment documents, completed credit applications in his handwriting, screenshots of my credit reports, and records of luxury purchases made with stolen cards. His phone contained text messages bragging to friends about his new lifestyle, as well as internet searches about credit fraud. Incredibly, he had even posted videos online showing off his expensive clothes, electronics, and dinners, all paid for with accounts in my name. Confronted with overwhelming evidence, Kyle tried to claim he was just borrowing my credit and had always planned to pay it back. The agents weren't buying it. He had opened 8 fraudulent accounts totaling $47,000, destroyed my credit rating, and left me with years of damage to fix. He was arrested and charged with federal identity theft, wire fraud, and mail fraud, charges carrying up to 20 years in prison. The consequences cascaded quickly. His employer fired him when news broke. Local news outlets covered his arrest as part of a feature on rising identity theft crimes. His family was humiliated to learn their son's success was funded by theft. The financial institutions he defrauded filed lawsuits demanding repayment with interest and legal fees. His total liability ballooned to more than $85,000. Kyle ultimately pled guilty and was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison, plus 3 years of probation. As part of his plea, he was required to repay me and the defrauded companies, with 15 years of wage garnishment ordered to ensure restitution. His once promising career evaporated, replaced with a permanent criminal record and lifelong debt. Meanwhile, the resolution of the case allowed me to repair my finances. With the FBI's documentation, I was able to clear the fraudulent accounts and restore my credit score within 6 months. Restitution payments began arriving, and though rebuilding took time, I was eventually made whole. I now monitor my accounts obsessively, check credit reports monthly, and never take financial security for granted. 3 years later, I still occasionally receive updates on Kyle through the restitution process. He served 3.5 years in prison and now struggles to rebuild his life under probation, financial ruin, and a destroyed reputation. Almost all of his income goes directly toward repayment. In the end, my revenge wasn't anything dramatic. It was simply ensuring Kyle faced the full weight of the law and lived with the long-term consequences of his betrayal. He thought he could steal my identity and cover it up with a shredder. Instead, the evidence he tried to destroy became the very thing that sealed his fate. Justice was served, with federal prison time, financial ruin, and a future defined by the debts of his crime.